Today I'm going to talk about what is wayfinding and why is it so important. Coming straight up. Hi, I'm Paul Symonds and I'm the wayfinding expert. So what is wayfinding? For those of you looking for a simple, short answer, it's about how we get from A to B. So what does this mean? Is this wayfinding? Well, yes. The use of signage is certainly very important in wayfinding. Signage helps to guide us and direct us from one place to another. But how about this? In addition to the use of signage, the use and design of space is very, very important, and architectural design and how we are guided by buildings and spaces. This is all wayfinding. In this picture, in fact, you can see how these paths are designed that they naturally guide us to a meeting point in the middle. It's very, very clever design, and this is important in wayfinding. But what about this? Don't we ask other people for directions very often? Do other people not design the wayfinding systems that ultimately guide us? Indeed, other people are very important. And all of these considerations help to shape the way in which we're able to guide ourselves from A to B. But is it that simple? Is it about how we guide ourselves, how we find our way? Or is it about how other people guide us? That's a good question. We are often guided by other people. If you saw the recent video that I did on airport wayfinding, if you didn't, check this card out, that is now going to be above, so you can click the link and go to that. If you step outside of your front door, ultimately you're probably going to take the roads and pavements or sidewalks that are laid out by the local councils and governments. So in wayfinding there are a lot of controls in how we get from A to B. The key point here is that wayfinding is not just about how we are able to find our way from A to B. It's also about how other people choose and wish to guide us from A to B. Oftentimes there's commercial gains, such as if you go to a shopping mall, there's a lot of wayfinding things that are going on in the way that they guide us along certain routes, past certain shops, and it's really quite a complex process, wayfinding. So why is wayfinding important? Well, it's important for a number of reasons. Safety. Crowd control can be very, very important, especially in locations where there are a lot of people, especially in a short time, such as at a stadium. So controlling the flow of people in a safe manner can be very important. User experience, or UX for short. It's not just about how we find our way from A to B, if we do it quickly or along the most direct route. Ultimately, we want to have a good experience, and for people who are going to commercially benefit from our route, it's in their interest for us to have a good user experience. Getting lost can be stressful, and this gives us negative emotions, and it doesn't give us a good impression sometimes of the location through which we are trying to find our way. For business owners, this isn't good for them, because if we have a positive experience, we're more likely to return and we're more likely to be enjoying the situation as we find our way through this location. We're more likely to stay and spend more money. So it's really, really important, the user experience, and wayfinding is central to this. Rules and regulations. To give the UK as an example, we had the 1995 DDA Act, which is the Disability Discrimination Act, and this moved us towards making sure that we made locations accessible for disabled people. Since then we've had the 2010 Equality Act, and this has moved it from just being about helping disabled people to ensuring that all people have good access. So you could be a mother with a pram, or you could be a father with a pram. With children in tow, you need also to have good access. You could be an ambulant user. This means somebody who has problems with mobility. You could be an elderly person. You're not considered disabled, but you still have problems to get around. With these regulations now, it's important that all locations give accessibility for all, and reasonable adjustments should be made to ensure that these locations do create accessibility for users. Reasonable adjustment, I'm discussing that in another video coming up about the Equalities Act and accessibility. It's coming up in about 2 or 3 weeks' time. Make sure to subscribe to this channel. Commercial viability. If you understand wayfinding as a company, as a location, as somebody who manages one of these places, you have the potential to greatly increase the commercial viability of your location. Where does wayfinding take place? Everywhere. If you commute, you're wayfinding. You might say, but I'm taking the same route every day, but there may be a traffic accident and you have to go a different way. You may be familiar with the alternatives, but you're still wayfinding. You might be going for a job interview. You have to find a new building, a new street in a new city. You don't know where to go. You may pre-plan and you may look on Google Maps first. You may use a sat-nav to get there in your car. You may ask people the directions. But this is wayfinding. So for job interviews, for commuting, holiday locations. You may be in my favorite city in the world, New York City, the Big Apple. Oh, I love that city. I love actually going there and getting lost on purpose. Just spending time around Little Italy or in Greenwich Village and just allowing myself to get lost so that my wife and I can discover new shops and new streets. And we find some really, really interesting small stores on these side streets and love exploring New York City. So the word exploring really can be tied in with wayfinding because it's what a guy called, well, an academic called Fewings called recreational wayfinding. So there's different types of wayfinding. Sometimes we want to get lost. It's fun. Wayfinding can happen in very small locations. If you're in a pub and can't find the toilet, you're still wayfinding. Where is the sign for the toilet or for the restroom? Where do you have to go? This is wayfinding. The question, in fact, might be, when are we not wayfinding? Are we not always on the way to somewhere? So if wayfinding is so complex, how can we really define it? Over the years, there have been a number of definitions, and I'm going to read one here because I can't memorize it. The cognitive, social, and corporeal process and experience of locating, following, or discovering a route through and to a given space. And that's from Symonds et al., 2017, in an academic publication. I have to be honest, I'm Symonds et al., myself and 2 authors, because we did an academic publication, because I've just completed a PhD in wayfinding. And so we came up with a new definition for wayfinding in this paper, and I did in the PhD. So let me break down this definition. The cognitive, the social, and the corporeal process. By the cognitive, we do have to use our brains to try and work out psychologically where to go, to try to make decisions. So this is the cognitive. The social, because ultimately we rarely try to find a way somewhere where there are no other people. And if we do, other people ultimately have influenced that location by setting the paths, by putting up the signage. And also a lot of times we ask other people for directions. Sometimes we change direction because other people are in the way. So ultimately the social is very important in this equation. Also we have the corporeal. That means the embodied aspects, the body, the physical body, the mental body. If we see the brain and the body as one unity, we may need to take a different route because we are disabled. So we cannot take the route that many other people take. So the body affects this process. We may take on a certain route because we want a challenge, so climbing a rock face, but taking certain routes up the rock face or up a mountain range, we may base it in part on our ability to do so. So this brings in the embodied or the corporeal aspect. The next part of the definition was and experience of locating and following. So I see wayfinding as being an experience. It's just not about how we get from A to B and doing it as quickly as we possibly can. Most of the time we want to enjoy this process. So I think that wayfinding is also about being an experience, a user experience. And the word following, we have to follow certain paths. We follow the paths that I've mentioned that have been laid down for us from designers, from architects. And the final part of the definition is discovering a route through and to a given space. So ultimately there is an A and B. The destination may be back to A. We may go from A go somewhere and then come back. So ultimately it's like a circle. But there are different locations or spaces involved. So that's included at the end of the definition. So the cognitive, social and corporeal process and experience of locating, following or discovering a route through and to a given space. So I quite like this definition that we came up with because I think it encompasses everything that is involved with wayfinding, or at least it covers more than has ever been covered in any previous definition. How is wayfinding different from navigation? Is it different? And how is it different from wayfaring? Well, that's a great question, especially what is the difference between navigation and wayfinding? A few academics, at least when writing about this, have used navigation and wayfinding interchangeably. So they see it as the same thing. But other people do not. So for me, wayfinding is the big, all-encompassing practice of how we get from A to B, how we find our way there. Take a look at this diagram. In this diagram, I show all of the influences that I consider are an aspect of wayfinding. So we've got the influences from different organizations, we've got the sign makers, the architects, ourselves as the wayfinders. So there's all of these influences. And in real time, we have navigating. Do we take a left turn, right turn? Do we ask somebody? Do we go straight ahead? Have we gone the wrong way? So for me, this is navigating, and it takes place in the wayfinding process. This takes place in real time. There's also pre-planning. Some of us plan routes. We print maps off using Google Maps. We may write down the directions. So pre-planning can also be very important. So within wayfinding, I see all of these elements existing. Wayfaring is another term I've seen, and it's really the same as wayfinding, but some people choose to use different terms. But wayfinding in industry is much more common. What discipline does wayfinding come under? It can come under geography, urban studies, business, psychology, sociology, and many other fields. So it's really confusing in a way, but it really comes under so many different things. Where did the term wayfinding come from? The first instance of the actual term wayfinding that I've come across is from Kevin Lynch in The Image and the City. It's a book written in 1960. I'll put a link to that in the bottom of this video. If you click the More button, you can find out more about that book. And he was an architect, and he wrote about wayfinding and how we find our way around city streets and locations. It's quite a good book if you're interested in wayfinding. Well, okay, thank you for watching this video. As always, please put your comments below. It'd be great to hear what you have to say about wayfinding. I think it's a fantastic subject. I hope you find it interesting too. If there's anything that you would like me to talk about in upcoming videos about wayfinding and navigation, please let me know, and I will try and do a video on it. I'm fascinated by this subject area, so I'll be more than happy to consider your ideas. So thank you for watching this video. See you soon.